Hi everyone, my name is Tanya and today I'm sharing my post for Nat's Creative Squad, and the theme for the month was Pastel Dreams. And we were asked by Nat to use the large floral tile set, which is one of Nat's new designs with Rubber Moon Designs. Now what I have here is something called Durala. It's by a company called Graphics, and it is basically a plastic film that is slightly translucent, almost like vellum, but it's a little bit more sturdier because it's made of plastic. It's a polyester film. And what I love about this is that you can use this with a wide variety of mediums, and you can heat emboss this on this as well, and the film won't warp as much, which is absolutely lovely. So what I've done is I have stamped with Nat's Versailles Positive stamp set, and I have stamped it with some clear embossing ink, and I'm using some white embossing powder from Wow Embossing Powder, and I am heat setting it with my heat tool. And when you're working on a very slick surface, you need to be careful not to touch your surface too much because you might get some of the embossing powder sticking to bits where you don't want it to. Now I have a piece of cardstock which I've cut down to 3 inches by a little over 12 inches because I am going to be creating a paper lantern, and I am using Distress Oxide sprays. These are Mermaid Lagoon and Picked Raspberry, and then I am heavily misting it with some water just to get that that ink to oxidize a little bit, because the theme was pastel and I was going for a pastel look for my project. And after dabbing off some of the excess ink, I am heat setting and drying it with my heat tool, and I really love the way the water droplets dry on the surface. It gives that cloudy, pastel-y kind of look that I really love. So I'm making sure to dry it from both sides. And I am taking the Versailles negative stamp set from the large floral tile set, and I am picking up some water with my stamp and loosely stamping it onto my my cardstock panel, and I'm gonna let it sit there for a couple of seconds and then just lift some of that water with a kitchen towel. I love getting that sort of watercolory kind of lifted bleach look that you can get with the Distress Oxide and the Distress inks. And now I'm using Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide, and I've just randomly stamped the same Versailles negative set, and I am making sure that the panel is completely dry from both sides. Now, once I'm happy that it's completely dry, I am going to score along my cardstock panel every 3 inches so that I can create my paper lantern. And then you'll have a little bit left over because you want to make a join where you can connect the two pieces together. So you have 4 panels which are 3 inches by 3 inches, and you have a little bit overhanging. I wish I'd left a little bit more overhanging, but if you use the right kind of sturdy adhesive, then you can make the panels stick together quite easily. So what I'm doing is I'm marking out on my cardstock panel. I want to cut a a 2.5 inch square in between, and I'm measuring it out. So I'm measuring 1/4 inch from each side of the panel to get my 2.5 inch square panel inside. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a cutting mat and a steel ruler and a knife, a craft knife, and very carefully cut those squares out. Can I just take a moment to draw attention to that steel ruler that I'm using? That steel ruler is probably about 20 years old. I've had it since I was in school and college, and I've probably used it far more for crafting over the years than I did for school. It's just one of those things that you never really think you need, but I end up using it a lot. And once I have carefully cut out all my squares from the inside, you can keep those insides, which would make really lovely cards. I am bringing back my embossed panels. Oh, so this is where I made a mistake. Well, not really a mistake, but I got quite excited by how nice it looked cut out, and I immediately started scoring and folding my lantern, and not realizing that I need to put in my embossed panels in first before I glue it down. And can I also draw attention to that bone folder as well? I've just recently invested in a proper bone folder, and it was expensive, but I've just found that it just makes all the difference in making sure that all of my corners and folds are creased properly. So now I've got my Duralar embossed panels, and I have cut them down to size, and I'm making sure that they're slightly under 3 inches, because I want them to fit inside the folds of those squares, the square panels. So now I'm just very easily lining them up, and the floral tiles, the Versailles Positive, fits beautifully inside the 2.5 inch squares, and I'm just using some strong, clear drying adhesive to stick those down. So I'm just running a thin line around the edges and then smooshing it down with my finger so that I don't get any of the glue oozing out onto the panels on the other side. And now on the very last fold that I have, that I'm going to be using to connect the lantern together, I have just applied the glue, and then I have stuck it down, and I'm going to leave that there with some clips on for a few minutes so that the glue can properly adhere itself to the cardstock. And there you have it. The lantern is assembled, and I am absolutely over the moon with how it turned out. And here's a video footage of what it looks like. I've used a battery operated tea light inside the paper lantern, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you give this a go, and take care, and thank you very much for watching. Take care and have a great day. Bye.